Do you know who was responsible for the killing of Tupac Shakur?
No, I don't. I think that Sean now, in my mature mind, had a lot to do with the death of Tupac.
Today, we have a mission, and it's a big one. We're digging into this really dense stack of sources, articles, legal filings, personal accounts, all detailing the trajectory of Sean Combs.
Yeah, a figure who, fundamentally shaped modern hip-hop and is now facing, an absolutely existential crisis.
He really is. And for you listening, what we're trying to do here is navigate this mix of incredibly raw personal material and some very high-stakes commentary.
Exactly. The goal is to synthesize it all, even the conflicting parts, to find the core narrative, to chart the blueprint of his ambition and, what led him from being this architect of culture to the center of a legal firestorm.
Okay, so let's just jump right in, because the source material drops us immediately into a five-alarm fire. We can't really talk about the rise without first understanding just how bad things are for him right now.
And they are bad. The scale is, frankly, unprecedented for a celebrity of this magnitude. We're talking about federal intervention.
Homeland Security raids on his homes.
Exactly, Department of Homeland Security. And as of now, the sources confirm over a dozen civil lawsuits have been filed. The allegations are severe. We're talking sexual assault, trafficking, forced labor, even kidnapping.
It's a total, complete collapse.
Oh.
And to really get the severity, one source used this metaphor that, it just sticks with you.
I know the one you're talking about.
8 nuclear bombs straight to the head.
Yeah. That's the level of legal crisis we're dealing with. And internally, from his perspective, you can feel the desperation in documents. He talks about needing to fight for my life.
Right, and this panic of running around waiting for a shooter to drop.
It's visceral. He seems to get how serious it is, and the sources suggest he feels his old playbook. The classic, you didn't do anything wrong strategy just isn't working anymore.
So he's scrambling. He's looking for people who deal in, and this is his own quote, the dirtiest of dirtiest dirty business of media and propaganda.
Which is fascinating because it shows this deep self-awareness, but it's mixed with a real confusion about his own image.
How so?
Well, he says his life is like a movie without subtitles. That the audience, they only see the quick images, so they don't know what's really going on.
And he sees himself not as this cold gangster, but as a dreamer. A businessman who loves to close his eyes and doesn't really deal with reality.
That's the quote. And that idea, that disconnect from reality is so important. To understand it, you have to rewind. You have to go all the way back.
Back to the beginning. So if we're connecting the dots, what did the sources say about the early influences that created this almost manic level of ambition?
It all starts with this duality in his childhood. In Harlem, on one hand, you have his father, Melvin Combs.
In the thick figure?
Totally mythic. He was absent, described as a hustler, a gangster, but his money made a lot of things possible. And when Sean finally researched him and connected to that identity, he said he finally knew what I was feeling was true.
So he embraced that hustler legacy.
He did, but on the other hand, you have his mother, Janice Combs. She was the everything. She was the counterbalance.
Working multiple jobs, right? A school bus driver, a social worker.
And pouring liquor at an after-hours spot for big tips. She was trying so hard to overcompensate for the absent father by raising Sean as a dandy.
A dandy?
Yes, and, hats and fur coats. She wanted to instill this image of class and propriety, so you have this profound tension.
The gangster's son being raised as a pampered prince.
Exactly. And the household itself was this mix. You had Donna Summer playing on the stereo, but they're also watching blaxploitation films, Superfly, The Mac. And the theme of those movies is always wanting the world and everything that's in it.
And that tension showed up in how he dealt with the world physically.
Yeah.
Sources say he was goofy as a kid. He got picked on a lot.
He did, and his mother taught him one lesson. If somebody hit me, make sure I hit them back harder.
Which led to this.
Yeah.
This desperate fighting style.
It's a key psychological detail. A source said if Combs fought you, he wasn't just throwing punches, he'd bite you, he'd eat your ear off. The point was he was not losing.
It wasn't about winning, it was about not losing.
Right. It was pure tenacity, a refusal to accept defeat. And that exact same drive defines his entire professional life.
Which takes us to the ascent. He drops out of Howard University. He's all in on being a pop culture mover and shaker. And the stories from this period, they just highlight this almost frightening level of tenacity.
Oh, yeah. The origin story at Uptown Records sounds like something out of a movie. The founder, Andre Harrell, asks him to go get a tape 10 blocks away.
And he's back in minutes.
2 minutes. Harrell asks him how, and he just says, I ran there and back. And that one story that should have told everyone everything they needed to know, this kid would run through walls.
And he used that hustle to get close to Harrell, who became his very first patriarch. He did everything right, even armor, awling his tires.
Whatever it took. And Harrell put him through what they called the Uptown Flavor Camp, taught him how to walk, how to talk, basically transforming the scholastic dweeb into cool.
And this need for ownership, it wasn't just professional, it was in his personal life too, like with Kim Porter.
Yes. She was with LB, sure, at the time, but the source says when Sean wants something, he's going to get it. He wasn't even like the obvious catch. He didn't drink, he forbade marijuana.
He was uptight.
Very. But it was about acquisition, about control.
But the real pivot, the moment he goes from being an industry kid on the rise to real national infamy, was a tragedy.
The City College Stampede, 1991.
A charity basketball game in Harlem that he promoted.
And it was just a disaster. Massively overhyped, lines wrapped around the block. The crowd starts, as one source put it, boom, rushing the door.
And the doors only opened inward.
Yeah. A fatal design flaw.
Yeah.
Thousands of people just crushed at the bottom of these stairs. 9 people died.
So this is positioned in the sources as his true launch point. And for you listening, it's a critical question. How does a tragedy like that become a career-defining moment?
Well, it instantly put him on the map. He was young. He was at the center of the biggest, most tragic news story in New York. He carried it publicly, expressed regret, but it cemented him as this figure of controversy and power.
The source puts it so bluntly. This event is the beginning of Puff Daddy.
It is. He leveraged that tragedy into super fame.
And what was happening behind closed doors was just as telling. He's holed up in a hotel after, and his mother questions him for leaving school for all this.
And he slaps her, calls her a B. That one moment, that detail, it's crucial. It shows the vision of success could not be questioned by anyone.
And not even by the woman who was his everything.
His ambition had already superseded everything else. The dandy was gone. The ruthless hustler myth had taken over completely.
And that mentality goes directly into building his empire. So Andre Harrell fires him.
But he lets him take Biggie Smalls with him, the most important caveat.
Which leads to the founding of Bad Boy. And their mission wasn't just to make money, it was to make history.
Right, and the business structure they set up shows he learned a very specific lesson from the City College tragedy.
Tell us about that.
So they get this huge $10 million deal with Clive Davis at Arista. The LLC is structured so 75% goes to him and his mom, 25% to his co-founder. But here's the genius, or the cynical part.
The company wasn't in his name.
Not in his name. It was a shield, specifically to protect his personal assets from the families of the victims of the CCNY stampede.
So the idea of the paper gangster isn't just an image.
No. It's a financial strategy. He wasn't street, but he used corporate law and high finance to insulate himself from the consequences of street-level disasters. He had financial immunity.
And he thought that made him just as gangster as they are now.
Precisely. But at the same time, you can't deny the musical genius of that period. His A&R blueprint was, truly revolutionary.
The sponging technique. He didn't see it as copying, he saw it as just smart curation.
It was more than that. It was cultural engineering. He'd observe what was working, like the DJ Brucey B mixing R&B vocals over hard hip-hop beats, and he packaged it.
And that created hip-hop soul.
It did. That formula is what launched Mary J. Blige. It proved he had an incredible ear for what would become a hit.
But as that power grew, so did the shadow of control and some really dark behavior. The sources detail allegations of sexual assault, of videotaping.
And of showing that Tate on a big screen at parties. If the sources are right that he was modeling himself on this Harlem tough guy, Alpo Martinez, it tells you everything about the kind of intimidation he was embracing.
He denied it, of course, on his knees, according to source. But the impact on the victim was profound.
It was. The source describes the victim vomiting when she saw his image celebrating in Times Square, feeling trauma and defeat while he's raising his hand in victory.
That contrast, that dual reality is everything. Public success, private degradation.
And it wasn't all private. There was the public fight outside Uptown Records where he was seen beating Misa Hilton in the street.
And then they get back together, have their son, Justin. It speaks to this cult-like status he had.
Absolutely. He was the provider, the gatekeeper, and people were willing to overlook almost anything to stay in his orbit.
Which brings us to the next stage.
Yeah.
This desire for complete, total control. It's not just about the music anymore. It's about the people.
And nothing threatened that control more than the friendship between his star, Biggie, and Tupac.
It's such a complex dynamic.
Yeah.
Because Bad Boy literally studied Tupac to make Biggie a star.
They did. They took Tupac's hit, I Get Around, and they dissected it. The structure, the video, everything. That's how they engineered Big Papa.
But people forget that before the rivalry, Pac and Biggie were friends. Pac took him on tour. He was excited for Biggie's album release.
A genuine friendship, and according to the sources, Combs was insanely jealous of it.
Why?
Because Biggie was one of the only people he truly trusted. This friendship with Tupac was an outside influence he couldn't control. It raised the question in his mind, who is this guy? Why do we need him in the picture?
So it was a threat. The sources frame it as a threat of authenticity.
I think that's right. Combs, the ultimate marketer, the manipulator who had to run 10 blocks for a tape and engineer every single piece of his success. He was threatened by Tupac.
Because Tupac had it all with no manipulation.
Yes. He was just naturally charismatic, naturally famous. He didn't need the packaging. And Combs saw in him the very success he had to invent for himself. And that rivalry, that threat to his total control, that's what leads us to the end of the trail.
And looking back, one source connects all the dots. City College, the feeling he could get away with anything, the legitimate money, and now the antagonist, Tupac.
It created a chain of events that started in New York and ended in Vegas.
And the source states the ultimate implication, just plainly. Sean, now in my mature mind, had a lot to do with the death of Tupac.
And that's the core conflict we've been tracing this whole time. The dreamer who made the American dream come true through sheer will.
Versus the man who needed absolute control, who believed nobody's going to be bigger than me.
He always believed that money can get him out of everything. But this chain of events, from that first tragedy to this current crisis, suggests maybe money can't fix a fundamentally broken blueprint.
So what does this all mean for us? We've followed this incredible trajectory, right? Driven by this relentless determination, shaped by this need to live up to a gangster father myth, and launched by a tragedy turned into fuel.
It's the story of an empire built on a calculated image and total control that is now crumbling under the weight of these allegations.
You know, Combs himself said his life was like a movie without subtitles, where we all just see the images flash by.
A very telling quote.
It is. So considering how much of his narrative was built through, again, in his words, the dirtiest of dirtiest, dirty business of media and propaganda, here's the thought for you to take away. In an industry where success often means getting total, unchecked control, or the blueprint for the American dream, and the blueprint for its collapse, sometimes the exact same document. Just think about the costs that are baked into the kind of ambition we so often celebrate.